All right, this is the second class session here on Saturday, November 2nd. And this is the Islands of Sanity in a Mad World course. And this of course is a 13-month extravaganza of uh, of us being collapse aware or collapse acceptant folks involved with either the live Zoom sessions that happen twice a month on the first and third Saturdays of each month. And in those Saturdays, we have a first session from 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific time here on Zoom, and that is going to be mostly focusing on the whatever the book is that we're working with. And so we've had that session with each other about climate cure from Jack Adam Weber, and now we're in the official Islands of Sanity session, and this is where we spread it out a little bit, and we also use more of the words and the concepts that are native to this living resilience body of work. And in my experience, there's so much overlap. There's difference in terms between this work and Jack Adam Weber's, and of course his masterful knowledge of Chinese healing, which he infuses into climate cure. I don't have any of that knowledge, so we won't be talking too much about five elements and so on. But this is where the rubber meets the road for me. This is where we talk about the kind of practices and exercises that are native to here that I've developed and curated over 10 years of offering this work. And so it's just a subtle shift. There's an awful lot of overlap still with Jack's work, but this is just a chance to recall what any of us might have gleaned from the course materials, which oftentimes is videos, but also can be articles. And so, what happened back in the first session was Janet was saying really cool stuff. And I just asked her to repeat some of it because, and we started the recording and would like to have caught some of that. So we did. And now she's gone and done it again. So, uh, do you recall what thread you were on, Janet? And can you start us out? And I understand you might forget what you had said in that cool way before, but would you start us out?
Oh, I'm laughing because it's sort of like off the top of my head, but um, I'm thinking that um, and this comes from Richard, what you were talking about is what what do what do you do? And people want a solution, like they there's all this crazy, scary, threatening stuff going on, and most people want an answer. This is going to be the way through, and a lot of those predictions are, if we do this, we'll be fine. And um, and anybody who really thinks about it will know that that's not true. And so the challenge is to hold a space for the uncertainty, and kind of go, I don't know where the world is going to start falling apart first, or how, or when, or what combination of ripple effects are going to happen. I mean, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. We'll all have our own perspective on, is it the economy, or there's no food, or um, you know, there's all these possibilities. And so the need to just let it be, and also know that we don't know what's going to happen from that.
Mhm.
Um, and I'd just like to add a piece to that that I was thinking about in between our two sessions here. And that is stillness. And I think that that's what I value from the two of you is that if I'm talking, like I have been, you hold space in a way that's still so that I can speak into that space without this sense that you're going to jump on me or sort of crowd me out of that, out of a space
Mhm.
to um, think, feel, explore what I've got. And I think that's one of the things that's so missing
Mhm.
in our interactions with people is a space that's still and accepting for someone to put themselves into.
Mm.
And it's a skill. It's not something that just happens on a Hallmark card. So
Yeah.
um, anyway, and so that's what I really value from the two of you is this um, sense of quiet waiting and acceptance.
Yes. Mm. You really beautifully said, and thank you for ending it that way because it's sometimes subtle or difficult to make quite as vivid as I would like to. What are we doing here? You know, it sounds like we just get together and everybody talks a little bit and then we hang up and go our separate ways. But there are actually skill sets being built out. There are capacities being expanded. And one of those is literally a cornerstone for me, is our ability to hold space for one another, our ability to participate with an open heart, with a certain amount of conscious vulnerability, uh, to hold space for each other and to be um, vulnerable enough and presenced enough to be a participant, a strong participant in that circle where space is being held. So you've just articulated that in your own way, Janet. Thank you. I appreciate it. Richard, does that spark you to say anything? Is there anything you'd like to chime in with?
Well, yeah, but before I do that, I just I personally don't really care how big the group is, but I'm a little perturbed, I guess, that a lot of people seem to have disappeared.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody ever communicates with you about whether they're going to show up or disappear or anything, but um, I I mean, feels weird to me that all these people just kind of dropped away. I mean, what the
Yeah.
hell?
Yeah.
So I don't know if if there's anything to say about it other than that, but
Yeah.
I thought I'd mention it because it was occurring to me. It was on my mind. So,
Yes, absolutely.
hell, you know.
Is this a pause point where I could respond, or did you have more you wanted to say?
Um, I don't need to say anything else right now. Go ahead.
So I have the same experience. Some folks I know what they're doing. They're consciously not available, and they're
Hmm.
declared they're not available at this time to be live with us.
Hmm.
And so the best they've got is the recordings. So there's a small handful of folks doing that. There
Yeah.
will be other folks in the future who will sign up for a recordings only version of this.
Hmm.
Of course, that's all they'll have unless they build out their own circle, which is really my dream that each of us will get a live circle somehow where we live that we can get together with on a very regular basis. God, that would just be a dream come true. Um, so what that leaves me with is the small amount of folks who literally dropped away without saying a word. And I then reached out
Yeah.
to them to say, is there something you'd like to say to complete? Is there something that was missing? Too much of something, too little of something, and so on. And I can say that there was really only one person that I can think of right now that responded to my reaching out and asking those questions. And I appreciate that because there's no other way to continue to evolve this work in a good
Right.
way without getting feedback. So it's hard not to take it personally, but really that I'm been through so many layers of that. I'm steeled to it, on the personal side. But on the
Yeah.
growing
Yeah.
the work and evolving the work side, it's heartbreaking to
Yeah.
have someone just, pick it up for maybe one session or two and then just go. Because there's some experience going on there. And I would love to be able to glean some experience. I'm not trying to talk anybody into sticking around if it's not their thing, but I would sure love the feedback, the opportunity to hear what worked and what didn't for them. And the last thing
Yeah,
I'd
for
say,
sure.
Richard, is perhaps closer to what you were sharing. Um, for me, I have been less formal than I believe I will be from now on in this course for new people coming in and for all future iterations of the course is that I want to create a boundary or a threshold that when a person comes and dips their toe in the water, so to speak, and they check it out for a session or two, there's going to be a threshold after which you're either gonna say, nope, this isn't for me. Bye. And that's fine. That
Yeah.
work that out. But if a
Right.
person's gonna stay, there's a certain amount of parameters of required decorum, like an honoring of the circle and to stay in communication, to stay in relationship. It's not like to beat people up if they miss a session or not remotely
Yeah.
like that, but
No, I
really
know what you mean. Yeah.
just setting
Yeah.
the parameters so that we know what we can count on for each other, from each other. And similar to what Janet was just saying, there's a stillness that you were just acknowledging us for in that holding of space. That stillness is one part of the parameters of what it is to be in circle with each other in this environment. And also our commitment to generating coherence. And I would
Right.
say also there's going to be a commitment to a certain amount of conflict resolution, at least at a basic level, of if somebody's feelings are hurt, or if there's a misunderstanding, or if there's a um, some way in which one or two people just aren't getting along. What can often happen in our world is some version of cancel culture. Either I'm out of here or I demand you get out of here. Whatever. It can get kind of scary. And especially the
Yep.
immediacy. And what scares me and my own system is when it's silent and all I hear is the slamming of the door of someone leaving without saying a word. And that has happened.
Yeah.
So thank you
I
for
think that's
planting
that's a
that seed.
reflection of
I hope that didn't, kind of over talk it for you, but I'm with you,
yeah.
and you can count on that I will be anybody who comes in and sticks around will be
Yeah.
all of us will be co-generating those kind of light but important parameters.
Well, like you were saying, I think it really is like kind of a reflection of our culture and a reflection of the disconnection and lack of communication going on in our culture. It's really
Mhm.
sad, actually. I mean,
Mm.
people just coming and going and not communicating and not saying what's really going on and just disappearing. And, the whole thing of ghosting people is like, when I first heard about that, I was like, what? Why would you want to do that to somebody? Even an enemy deserves something. So I don't know. But there is something related that I do want to share with you too, and it might take a couple of minutes, so I don't know if I should just launch into it now or wait. Did you want to go somewhere right now?
Well, I do. In fact, with your permission, I was going to ask you to read perhaps the entirety of one of your essays. It's from last April, and it's one that opens up with your recollection of a piece from Nietzsche that particularly moved you,
Oh, yeah.
that I think is a remarkable summary of one view of what this work's about. Uh,
Huh.
I think you just did a brilliant job, and so that's where I was going to go to kind of set the tone for the this session. But knowing what you know, you know this essay. Um, if there's something different enough about what you'd like to share for a couple of minutes, that's completely fine to go there.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I have so many different things I've written on Medium now that if I don't, I hope you have the title of it, because if I don't have the title of it, it's going to take me a while to find.
Oh, no, no, you don't have to find it. I'm going to scroll it on the screen for you. If you would like to read
Oh,
it, you're certainly welcome. And if not, I'm happy to read it. So you don't have to worry about finding
oh,
anything.
oh, okay. Well, no, I was going to say something. It's probably related ultimately. But no, I had a interesting reading. It wasn't really a psychic reading, but it sort of turned into a kind of psychic reading. And this woman who did this for me suggested at the time that it might be really helpful for me get involved in a some kind of shamanic training group or shamanic sharing learning group. I don't know what to call it. But anyway, it does occur to me. I think the level of work we're doing here is a kind of shamanic work. I mean,
Mhm.
it's really very much, the whole holistic kind of whole making view. And it's also, a deep level of healing and also confronting our shadow and confronting the demons loose in the world. And I
Mhm.
think it does take a certain level of shamanic focus or shamanic intent, maybe.
Mhm.
So I just thought I'd bring that up because I think, I wasn't consciously seeking that group, but it was in the back of my mind. And
Yeah.
this group is that on a certain level.
You mind if I respond to that a little bit before we go to the essay?
No, sure, go ahead.
Um, I keep talking about these different bodies within our bodies.
Yeah.
We got the physical body, and then within this experience, there are these core components that could be seen as a body within our body. And each of those bodies has a center. One of the five bodies that I often talk about, there are probably more, and it's just a casual, not
Sure.
casual, but it's an unofficial way of speaking about these elements in us, in ourselves. One of those bodies that we will be getting to a bit later is our energy body.
Hmm.
And from my experience, which is an extensive, like decades of work, study, mentorship, and so on in energetics, that included shamanic versions of energetics and also um, transformation-based work that
Yeah.
was similar but less um, less soulful, so to
Yeah.
speak. So I got to be with a lot of teachers,
Yeah, me
and
too. Yeah.
we will be sharing those elements that I welcome whatever any of us at that time have to share about the lineages we've touched. So we're gonna be touching into that, and yeah, I think enough said. I consider your desire to be heard and responded to, and just previews of coming attractions. We have
Yeah, yeah.
stuff coming.
Hmm. Yeah.
Are we good?
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So this is an essay from Richard, who is an author on Medium, the website, the app, whatever, the location out there that is such a lovely curation of many authors and a lot of folks speaking about these issues, these times we're in. And this particular essay is called "Is There Anybody Whole Out There?"
Oh, yeah.
And this is from April 20th of this year. And Richard, again, I'm going to just share screen and I'm going to put this, I'm going to be scrolling this. And would you like to be the person who reads this?
Uh, I'd like to try. I'll put it that way. I might get emotional. We'll see.
Okay. Okay. So what you'll see in a moment is this screen, and I'll be scrolling it for you. And let me see, is there anything else about that, or are we just ready to roll? I guess the why I'm focused so much on this particular essay from you, Richard, is I think you've found a piece of, for instance, Nietzsche's work, which we're going to find out how this particular passage from Nietzsche really impacted you, and seems like it's moved you quite a ways on this path, this
Hmm.
exploration, and in his original inspiration for you. You speak about center. You speak about reclaiming center. These are my words and partially your words, and
Hmm.
that's really what this work is about.
Right.
Is to in order to engage at this existential level of the predicaments going on in our world and the polarization and on, we must take on the serious task of reclaiming center, which has been, we have both forfeited it individually and collectively, and it has been
Yeah.
taken from us. Makes me think of early on
Yeah.
in the earlier session when Janet, you brought up about, actually, I forget who brought it up about the controlling of the narrative that we all live in, and how that is an extremely disempowering situation to be fed a narrative in which we lose our center. That's part of the narrative, is how we have that extracted. May not be conscious of it, but I believe that is an active dynamic, a shadow dynamic that we are dealing with. So, are we good to go, or do either of you have something to add before we get going?
I'll say one thing. The I think one reason this particular passage, which really isn't, it's not a quote, it's my remembrance of this passage, and it wasn't even, I'm sure it's not accurate in some ways, but it got the feeling of it. But anyway, I think one reason it spoke to me a lot at the time and since is because I was in such fragments myself. I mean, that's what he talks about, and my own being, my own psyche, my own emotional life was completely fragmented and a mess for quite a while, and I had to go through a lot of healing work and a lot of centering work to get to the place I'm at now. So I just want to mention that because it's a theme in this theme in this article.
Very good. Very good. All right. I will get this share screen going.
So yeah, let's see. Okay, you want me to just start from here? All right.
Sure.
All right. There's a passage from Nietzsche's writing that deeply affected me when I was in college. And it crosses my mind occasionally to this day. I searched for it on the internet this morning, but since I only remember small snippets, I couldn't find the correct quote. Still, the the essence of this passage stays with me. Paraphrased, it went something like this. I look out I look out over our so-called civilization, and what I see is a vast bloody plain filled with writhing pieces of men and parts of men, but no whole men or women. I look out over a vast battlefield or butcher field and see obscene parts and pieces of human beings scattered everywhere. A giant brain here, a huge leering eye there, a vast gaping mouth here, a huge grasping hand there, a giant stomping foot over there. Everyone is either broken in pieces, shattered, or exists only as a grotesque, one-dimensional caricature of themselves. All hail the giant brain, the tattling, endless busybody, the always hungry, voracious gourmand, the greedy, grasping hand that grabs. It's mind-numbing and it's everywhere. One small part or human aspect gets blown way, way out of proportion while everything else shrivels away. One-sided doesn't even begin to tell the story, for in all of that depraved, horrific wasteland, where are the real human beings? Where are the whole ones, the integrated ones, the beautiful, sane ones? Where are they, damn it? I look out and all I see is a vast battlefield or butcher field. Hmm. Hmm. Think you better take it, Dean.
Okay. An aching loneliness and horror. This paraphrased passage had a profound effect on me. It spoke to my deep sense of alienation, my fierce questioning about the direction of our society, and my nascent awareness that I, too, was in pieces, lost, and terribly imbalanced. It spoke to my fears about human progress and emotional evolution, and the ways we hurt and destroy both the natural world and each other. It spoke to an aching loneliness and horror deep within me, a terrible soul level loneliness stemming from the current state of our civilization and from my sense of our dreadful human condition. It and Nietzsche's writing in general provoked much reflection and guided me along my path of searching, learning, maturation, and longed for self-realization. By the way, I'm well aware I'm not yet fully self-realized.
I'll take it again.
Great.
Yeah, that kind of, phew, this wave
Yeah.
wash over me there. Hmm. Yet here I am 50 years later, and I still have the same basic vision and the same questioning horror, but something in me has also changed, grown, and transformed. So now the aching loneliness and terror no longer afflict my soul or paralyze me. Today, I'm centered enough and empowered enough to be comfortable in my own skin and also comfortable as much as possible anyway with my horror over or distaste for our current civilization, quote unquote. What I mean is the deep loneliness and horror haven't gone away, not at all. But over time, I guess I've accepted these inner experiences as aspects of the awake, aware human condition. And my overall sense of myself has changed drastically as I've grown, explored, and matured. Often now I'm able to be centered, clear, and quote, happy anyway, despite bleak outer circumstances and ongoing maddening societal problems. Okay. And then this section's called Surviving Our Trying, Turbulent, and Terrifying Times. I got to admit, that's a pretty good title right there. Surviving Our Trying, Turbulent, and Terrifying Times. Yikes. At least that's the way my life was going until fairly recently. But increasingly over the past 8 or 9 years, coinciding with the rise and the reign of Donald Trump and MAGA, Make America Great Again, I found myself reverting to the same old primal terrors and fears about the direction of our society and humanity in general, or rather, these primal feelings and fears have moved from the background to the foreground in my daily life. Clearly, we're all living through very trying, turbulent, and often terrifying times, and maintaining our sanity and sense of integration and wholeness is quite difficult, especially here in Ruby Red, Texas, but it's not impossible. I have to say, I'm fortunate overall. I'm quite fortunate overall. Though I have only a very small circle of friends. At least I have good friends, as well as a small circle of intelligent, aware, and fairly centered people who can reflect back to me the best, most genuine parts of myself. In, in crazy times like these, I think it's crucial to seek and find deep emotional and spiritual support and to have the support system around us so easily available. For the forces of darkness, disintegration, and raging chaos are all around us now and are almost impossible to live through and challenge on our own. In times like these, having like-minded, open-minded, and mainly psychologically healthy individuals in our lives is paramount. Even one open, grounded, and respectful companion can make a huge difference, even all the difference. This is not a time to try to go it alone or willfully push through it on your own, unless you're an especially hardy and an incredibly well-insulated person. Some kind of support or community is essential to make it through these bizarre and horrific times. Hmm. And despite the many flaws and dangers of the internet, it's safe to say that today it can also be a lifesaver, literally. Today, if you don't have a close by support system or community, you can go online, search diligently, and often find one to connect with. It's all out there waiting, both the good stuff and the horrors. We get to choose more. We need to choose which one to explore and focus on. Hmm. Wow, I haven't read this myself in a long time. Kind of intense. Section's called Healing, Growing, and Finding Our Tribe. Now, in typical Nietzschean fashion, I'm going to partially contradict myself. Support systems are wonderful and necessary, but ultimately they can't do it for us or save us. No, we always have to do that for ourselves. We can and should get plenty of help and support along the way from teachers, therapists, healers, gurus, friends, lovers, etc. But in the end, it's still up to us to heal, mature, and become more integrated. Yes, it's always our choice at all times and in every situation. It's up to us to seek growth, maturation, and perhaps even eventual, quote, enlightenment, unquote. But I have to say it's disheartening and frightening to see how few human beings make this choice and truly embrace this quest. Hmm. Where where are all the spiritual, psychological explorers? Where are all the indomitable miners of the psyche? Dean, you there?
Yes, I think we all froze for just a minute. And if you wouldn't mind, we could start with where are all the spiritual, psychological explorers?
Yeah, just read it again. Okay. Where are all the indomitable miners of the psyche? Where are the lusty, insatiable, quote, lifelong learners, unquote? Where are all the endlessly curious seekers and dreamers? Where the hell are they? As the great Moody Blues put it in one of their powerful songs, I know you're out there somewhere, somewhere, somewhere. I know you're out there somewhere. Hmm. Somehow, we insatiable lifelong learners and psychic explorers need to connect, support each other, and grow and mature together. We need to create a vast, countervailing, positive force to counteract all the darkness, pain, horror, horror, and negativity around us in today's world. We don't need to do it in person necessarily. Thank God for the internet in these weird, isolating Twilight Zone times, but we do need to do it. Somehow, oh boy,
Mhm.
can you finish it?
Somehow we light bearers and fierce cultural critics, psychosocial revolutionaries need to find each other, support each other, and pool our resources, our love, and our power. I know you're out there somewhere. Yeah, Richard, please. Your tears are so welcome and they are so present in my own experience as well. And this is rich in being able to feel with you this incredibly potent writing that you've shared with us. And I'm to see you moved by your own writing is just so beautiful.
Yeah, well, it's I don't know what to say about it. It's just that the writing's intense and the emotions in it are intense, and
Yeah.
reading it again is intense. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Boy, wow.
Well, I'm wondering, it seemed to me that you found yourself being moved a number of times, and if there were some themes that I could see there, it was there seems to be a real hunger in your system for community, for
Yeah,
this level of relatedness,
sure.
and to be able to get with people that there's this atmosphere, this consistent presence of trust.
Yeah.
These are words I'm making up. It just seemed like this was what was going on in your writing when you were being moved. Does that spark you to share anything?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we all, I know I do this, and I think, sensitive people are at least somewhat aware. We have to, just to get through every day, we have to kind of shut off this awareness of how horribly separated and uh, what the word would be, how horribly separated we are from each other most of the time, but also the degree of disintegration of our lives, our society, and our world. I mean, it's just it's so painful. I mean, you couldn't even function if we were letting this in all the time. So, yeah, and I have experienced, I think the other thing is, I have experienced moments or days or even, sometimes weeks of real in-depth harmony and sharing with other people. And it's so beautiful to do that. And yet it's so rare. I mean, that's one of the things I'm addressing in that essay. It's like so hard to find and it's so rare. But it's so beautiful and it's so sad that it's so rare. I mean, it's just painful.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I that's what it makes me think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, brother, I thank you again for the immense heart and soul that you bring to share with us in this circle. And I just can't, I could not have asked for a more brilliant and heartful sharing for you to again be moved by your own extraordinary words.
Hmm.
It's I could just literally feel it rippling out through me energetically, and I just thank you so much.
Yeah.
Um, and Janet, I'm curious if there's anything you'd like to share about your experience of Richard and his piece.
It was so powerful, um, and spoke so clearly to the pain and the pain of feeling alone with so much that's insupportable. I was really touched. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And yeah, I just got to say, I think, one reason I got, quite emotional at some points is because it, really reminded me of how much, how fragmented and how, frightened and alone I felt, a lot earlier in my life and how difficult that all was. And, those feelings are still in me somewhat, but they're not in the forefront, but they're, that kind of a soul level loneliness I refer to is there, and it's really a deep pain. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Whew. Is there anything more that's directly related to Richard reading this piece and this particular moment? Is there anything else to kind of complete this? Because I'd like to expand it in a slightly different direction, but I don't want to move before we're ready.
Well, I want to add one short thing, and that is that image of humanity, being in such conflict and fragments and pieces, and being on a battlefield or a butcher field. I mean, with this election and the likely horrible election aftermath, I think we're likely to see a lot more of this kind of
Mhm.
conflict and battlefield, butcher field kind of horrible crap. And so, we might be in for a lot of this in the near future. So I just want to mention that.
And I just want to add to that too that I have a sense that you're talking about more than one level,
Oh, yeah.
that could be in the world violence. And for those of us who have soul awareness, that is devastating to your inner sense of self and what the world could be or should be hurts on that level too.
Yeah.
Um, um, yeah. So thank
Yeah.
you again. I'm just this going to be sitting with me for quite a while.
Yeah. That's one of the more emotional pieces I've written for sure. Jesus.
And if I can just add one thing, your writing is lovely.
Hmm.
Oh,
Absolutely.
thanks.
As another writer, your writing is lovely and moving, and um, that's just on a one writer to another writer to
Oh,
another
thanks.
writer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm having, able to create the desired effect to some degree. That's nice. Oh boy.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a fabulous segue to to where I wanted to go. Both of your comments, thank you. Um, the first one, go back to what you were just actually both of you mentioned a little bit about the multiple layers that
Yeah.
especially what you started with what you could recall from Nietzsche's original piece, these, body parts strewn
Yeah.
across the bloody plain.
Yeah.
And yes, it's extreme and wow, it's vivid and it's potent. And as Janet, you just said, it's multidimensional.
Right.
And going back to your earlier request about the shamanic elements, could we include more of the shamanic here? Yeah, absolutely. And because
Yeah. Yeah.
what you're describing by that distillation from Nietzsche, for me, is pretty vivid and accurate about what I scan when I scan the world energetically.
Yeah.
So it's not just the horrific stuff that's going on in say Gaza, for instance. That's a kinetic warfare that is bodies truly strewn across the landscape. It's unimaginably horrid.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, you froze up.
Okay. So what was the last thing that was clear?
Um, gosh. You were saying something about the image of speaking to you, all the body parts and everything, and
Okay.
about, extending it into a more shamanic vision or something.
Right. Thank you. So what I'm getting at is that how you express that in the first part of the essay, that's often vividly how it appears to me energetically.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
That
Okay.
the atrocities, the
Yeah.
brutality, the cruelty that we can have as human beings is far more present in the energetic realm than it is even in the physical realm.
You.
So this, body parts and so on, it's in a strange way vivid and
Hmm.
real in that energetic or shamanic dimension. So I just wanted to mention that and know that we will explore that neighborhood. We will be going there to the degree that folks are up for it. And it is
Hmm.
not all horrific, not at all.
Oh, no, no,
Like
no.
life itself at any dimension, there's going to be the harsh part of the reality and the beauty of the reality, the unspeakable beauty. So at every level,
Yep.
I hope that we will explore both and everything in between when we get there. So the other thing I wanted to mention is there's a there's a gift in this being your writing that we've been exploring, Richard, and your experience as a writer, Janet. And yes, I've written a book, but I don't consider myself a fluid writer, a gifted writer of any kind. I can get around in it, but I'm not gifted. Y'all are gifted. And what I'm what I'm asking for is for all of us, and especially the people who are watching this recording, there's a reason why I leaned so heavily in the one piece of core video for this week. If you go to the course material and you'll see that there's one video there in the course material that says basically for this one, for Saturday number 1 in November. And whether you've watched it or anything, or not, is not the point. I don't mean to, I'm not in judgment if you haven't watched it, but I would suggest watching it
Yeah.
because you two are not really the folks I'm speaking to because you do your writing and you're obviously engaged at many levels in these threads. This is the most extraordinary time in human history
Hmm.
at an existential level
Hmm.
in many different topics. Take your pick.
Yeah.
And so I cannot imagine how much more important a time in human history do you need to start doing some journaling about what it is to be a human being in with this level of life going on,
Yeah.
from the horrific to the unspeakably beautiful. So in that video, that core video learning piece from the course material
Hmm.
for this week, I I basically offer, if you don't know what else to do, if you're not really a journal person, you could also be generating conversation prompts, but that means you got to have some people to have some conversations with. Could be problematic depending on your family or who you're living with and and so on. In the name of giving you something that's workable as a foundation for journaling, if you aren't as skilled as these two are here, like myself, I need some support. I've had a lifetime of going about 10 pages into a journal and then setting it down and I never get back to it. I literally a
Yeah.
stack of journals like that.
Yeah.
So I suggest the use of a long-standing journal kind of how-to book called The Artist's Way from Julia Cameron. It is
Oh,
brilliant
yeah.
and it precedes all of this talk about collapse, all of this talk about climate change, and all of this particular brand of polarization and so on, all the strife of this time. She wrote it before all that. And it is still immensely valuable, useful as a tool to get you going. To just, if you don't have the space to read her whole book about it, just read the first chapter where she sets you up to do daily, what she calls daily pages. And between that and some prompts that I'm going to be posting starting this coming week, and we'll be getting more and more of these suggested prompts every month. Some of them you'll resonate with and you'll want to work with, and some of them you won't. These ones that are going to be coming soon are prompts to be able to scan our bodies, each of those 5 bodies that I keep talking about. Here's some prompts to be able to, oh, this is what he's talking about. So if I write a little bit and I scan my own body and my own experience a little bit, oh, it'll be easier for me to articulate when it comes time to share in circle. Is that making sense what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah. So
Sure.
the,
Oh,
the
yeah.
last piece that I love about Julia Cameron's work is it's all in the framing of how to bring forth the artist with that is within us.
Hmm.
This is not the work that's framed in how do we take these desperate, horrific, tragic,
Yeah.
self-terminating times and journal about them. No,
Yeah.
she doesn't know about that yet. This is written a while
Yeah.
back.
Right.
And every piece that she helps us with to unfold and invite out our creative muse, that creative essence within ourselves. And we bring that to these difficult times. I get a, I'm not a big hope guy, but there's something extraordinarily beautiful and actually hopeful when I'm invited to bring the best of my inner artist, my fledgling little creative muse in the face of existential challenges in our world. So I thank you for letting me say all that. I wanted to just draw a thread back to that video, that piece of
Yeah.
the core course material to make sense of it. Because like, why, Dean, why did you talk about artist's way? Like, what? I don't have time to do another book, and I can hear I can predict a lot of the feedback that I'll get.
Hmm.
It's really meant to be just as gentle and as encouraging, literally encouraging a tool and a suggestion as possible for something that could be transformative. To write at this level for a while with each other and to share it with each other. I mean, again, Richard, thank you so much for just cracking yourself open with your own creative expression. There's so much beauty, so
Well,
much beauty.
yeah.
So you've modeled it.
Yeah,
You've set the bar
well,
high.
well, yeah,
Very high.
I just want to say, hmm, what's really weird to me is that, I mean, yeah, there's all this conflict and all this pain and all these crazy things going on in the world and all the destruction and the environmental horrors and all of that stuff. And yet, at the same time, I mean, I've gotten in touch enough inside myself with this whole other place, which, like you said, is incredibly beautiful. I mean, the wholeness, the sense of connecting to everything. And
Mhm.
I mean, that is absolutely wonderful. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. And that's there too. And it's just, it's so weird to me, the contrast or, it's not a conflict, the contrast, I guess, within myself between knowing that place is there and I can tune into that place sometimes and be there. And then, all the horrors we're enmeshed in and somehow they both coexist. I mean, they're both here. That's
Mhm.
what's so weird to me is like they're both very real. They're both all here. But most people cannot, it seems like most people cannot tune into the, really beautiful space that we're talking about.
Mhm.
I don't know what to call that space, but I've experienced it a few times. And I know it's very real. And yet most people are just caught up in all the horrors and conflict and all this bullshit. And it's
Yeah.
very sad. I mean, it's really horrible, actually.
Yeah.
And I mean, I mean, we're all contending with that, that most people are just caught up in all this crap, and they don't know how to get out of it either. And we're all
Yeah.
being dragged along with it. Jeez.
Yeah. Richard, you're on a roll, and I'm wondering if you would mind just saying a bit more uh, to include a little bit of what you're landing with after this session, because
Oh,
each of
yeah.
us, we're at the place where each of us is going to check out
Hmm.
and share just a little bit about what we're left with after this time together. Could you do that?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Uh, hmm. Well, reading that piece, really was kind of intense for me, and it did bring up a lot of feelings. Some of them were old feelings, and some of them are current. But I guess what I'm left with is just a feeling of appreciation for the space that you've created here, Dean, and that you're both willing listeners and very open, and I really appreciate that. And I'm not big on hope either, but gatherings like this, I wouldn't call it, they don't make me hopeful, but they put me more in touch with that positive or fullness, a whole aspect of life. They put me more in touch with that, and that's a good thing. I appreciate that. So that's what I'm left with.
Beautiful. Thank you. Appreciate it. I don't know how this could have gone any better. So man, I'm just glowing with the in appreciation of particularly your contribution. Thank you. Janet, would you
Sure.
check out?
Um, yeah, Richard, what I wanted to say is I think that what was powerful for me about your writing is that it felt heartfelt and what I think of as body centered.
Hmm.
It's like how you feel in your body. It kind of got filtered enough by your mind to put words to it, but
Right.
what was on the page was how you are, and that's such a gift for you to be able to do that, and for me certainly, and I'm assuming Dean as well, to be able to hear that um, and experience that.
Hmm.
It's powerful. So thank you.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
well, it's yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, anyway, and the other thing I just wanted to add to that's connected to that is that I think it's also possible to touch into your body awareness of how you are, that can circumvent the words that your brain wants to put on things that creates more distance. Does
Hmm.
that make sense? And that is singing and dancing or painting.
Yeah.
And I would think that finger painting in particular,
Hmm.
because you put your hands in the paint
Oh
and
yeah.
on the paint, not with a brush.
Uh,
Um,
hmm.
but I think that those are other ways that you can connect with your inside. And I think, Dean, that's what you're talking about is how to find that inner place and put it in the world. And so often we mediate it through words and language and it loses something there. And Richard, and that's what you and that's why your writing was so powerful for me is it's like that feeling kind of it went by your brain and picked up the words to put it on the page, but it didn't get filtered through your brain, if that makes any, I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's how it felt to me.
Kind of, yeah. Hmm.
So, thank you.
Yeah. What about you, Dean?
Yeah. Um, Jenna, you just reminded me of, again, I don't know how much you folks are diving into the course materials. There's one guy that I've mentioned that I include as a muse that I find him to be a creative muse at a level I've rarely experienced before. A guy named David Price, who's also on Medium
Oh
with
yeah,
me,
yeah, he's great.
and he finds quotes from others that I just can't believe how on earth he finds these
Yeah.
extraordinary quotes. And he himself is a visual artist, and he finds artwork from other visual artists that is equally stunning. So in this relatively brief essay, you'll get this gorgeous art, start with a number
Right.
of great quotes, and then he has the power of his own words in his own style, which is oftentimes just breathtaking as well.
Yep.
So I'd like to invite you to dive in to check it out if you haven't.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I will be including at least one, if not two, each month, and can provide more upon demand because I think they're really only available to folks like Richard's stuff is, it's only available to paid members of Medium. So I've kind
Yeah,
of scalped it.
or on the good, some of them are on the Good Men Project too,
Oh, right, right, right. Yeah.
uh, but not all of them. Yeah.
So I just wanted to be sure to mention that and then the sing-along songs, you may want to check it out. I don't come away with a dry eye very often from the choir
Yeah.
Canadian group who do, pop-up singing situations. They're just absolutely gorgeous. So what I'm landing with, I am present to a seedling of exactly what I wanted to have available in creating this work. This is so beautiful. I feel so related, so connected, so happy to spend this time with you both. I feel so nourished by this time with you both. Um, hmm,
That's a
it
good
just
way to
doesn't
put it,
get
yeah.
much better than this. You know, in terms of human beings doing the best they can to grow themselves into a scale that has some kind of a chance of living through these times and actually doing it with some joy, some love, some interbeing. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Yeah.
Very
So
true.
I'm about ready to close up shop here. Is there anything left for either of you to say?
Me, of course, I always have stuff to say. Um, I just want to say I came across a, a thing, if you can call that, in another group I was in that does global social witnessing calls periodically.
Mhm.
Um, and what the woman did, which I've never come across anywhere else, is she had people put their hands up to the side of their screen. I have a tremor, so my hands, and so it's like you're touching through the screen.
Huh.
And there was like over 100 people there,
Huh.
and it was like this whole sense of
Huh. Oh,
I can't even describe it. So this is like me saying hello and holding hands to both of you.
oh, cool. Okay. Neat.
Lovely.
And I think she did it like this too, so that you touch the side of your screen. It was
Oh,
any rate. So I don't know. I just that really stayed with me, and not something that everybody would want to do all the time, but it was it just felt personal on another level,
Yeah.
even though we're all miles apart. Ontario, Texas, and Oregon, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we make a big triangle, and here we are. So
Yep.
anyway, so
Ah,
thank you both. I feel like you said, Dean, so nourished,
Yeah.
uh, and calmed. Some of that sort of brewing, foaming stuff has
yeah.
settled.
Yeah.
Me too. Yep. Well, next time we meet in 2 weeks, that'll be well after the election. We'll be in the middle of whatever's going to unfold after the election. It's going to be interesting.
Mhm.
So sure we'll end up talking about it some.
And I'm available on email too. Um, if you're if if you want to touch base between
Me
you
too.
know
Yeah, sure. All right. Great. Great talking to both of you.
mhm. Take care.
Bye. Have a good 2 weeks. Pray
Thank
for
you.
us. Pray for the United States. Oh my
I
God.
will be.
Bye.